Do I think that we can rein in our federal government if we keep on electing the same kinds of individuals? Absolutely not. And I'll tell you something else. Even electing the best among us isn't really going to fix things. If you look at the Reagan Revolution of the 1980s, it was one of the most momentous things to happen in the 20th century in American politics. And even that didn't stop the growth of government and the federal overreach. And then we had the Republican Revolution of 1994, the contract with America under Newt Gingrich. That didn't rein in the federal government. It didn't stop the federal overreach. Republicans in 1994 captured both houses of Congress for the first time in 40 years. 40 years. Didn't stop government. And then we got George W. Bush, who was supposedly a Republican, right? And he had two houses, he had both houses of Congress. So the entire federal government was under Republican control, and they massively expanded the government and increased spending and blew up the debt. Didn't stop. And then we had of course the unfortunate Obama administration in that period in our country's history. And the federal overreach and the tyranny was crazy to such an extent that we had this thing called the Tea Party uprising, right? And it was a once in a century. It wasn't just once in a generation. It was once in a century uprising and realignment of American politics. Republicans were winning seats they hadn't won since like post-Civil War days or the 1920s. This was a momentous occasion. It's huge. We still got Obamacare. We still couldn't get rid of it. And they said, listen, we need Congress to stop Obama. We gave them Congress. They didn't stop Obama. They said, we need the presidency. So we gave them the presidency under President Trump. And they just passed a $1.3 trillion spending bill, right? That's going to add $500 or $600 billion to the debt. Listen, it's clear that just electing either the same old people or even just having these popular uprisings, it's not going to rein in the government because there's a structural defect in the government. There's not a check and a balance on it anymore, right? The states used to have a seat at the federal government table. They don't anymore. People vote for their senators. The senators aren't appointed by the state legislature, so there's not a check on this federal power. We've got to fix it. We have got to repair the Constitution and restore proper checks and balances if we're going to have any hope of bringing this government back under control. And I'm the only one talking about it. I'm the only one advocating for it. I'm the only one championing these causes. And if nobody champions them and nobody advocates for them, they're just not going to happen.